Welcome to Balanced Life with Debbie Carlin Boyle. Conversations connecting to a healthier you. The show that gives you all the latest and greatest health and wellness information to inspire you to live a life of balance and joy. Debbie Carlin Boyle is a health and nutrition coach, personal trainer, and fitness instructor who helps her clients live in balance with everything that feeds us, in addition to the food on our plate. Please welcome your host, Debbie Carlin Boyle.
Hello. Hi, everybody. Welcome. Good afternoon. Happy New Year, and welcome to my show. This is Balanced Life, Conversations Connecting to a Healthier You, with me, your host, Debbie Carlin Boyle. I'm a health coach, a fitness coach, a personal trainer, and a cycling instructor. We're going to talk more about that today. I'm here, being a new year, it is all those things that we want to be. New year, new you. Well, it's kind of a different kind of new year than we're used to. And as a health coach, I'm here to help you with any of your health needs. So I'm running some free 7-day, jump starts right now. And if you go to my website, balancelifebydebbie.com, you can read all about it. So I hope to see you there. You can reach me that way. And we have a great show for you today, and we want you to become part of the conversation because that's what we are. We're interactive. So to do that, you're going to want to call in. So the number here is 323-524-2599. That's 323-524-2599. Call in at any point. You can just make a comment, ask a question, just anything you have on your mind. We'd love to hear from you. And if this is after the fact, or if you're watching on my Facebook page, Balanced Life by Debbie, you could write in a comment or a question there, and myself or my guest will get back to you after the show, and we'll keep the conversation going on and on. All right, so thank you for joining us today. I want to tell you all about our guest. So as a health advocate that knows that a balanced life is paramount to total wellness, it is my opinion that balance is not obtainable without strong core values that lead to kindness, respect, honesty, and trust. And one way to achieve these core values is to be part of a team that has a coach that can produce winners both on and off the court. My guest today is Nabil Mardini, an award-winning athlete, volleyball coach, fitness guru, and cycle studio owner. Nabil is the director of Mardico, a coaching education company and an affiliate of the Los Angeles Volleyball Academy. With his 25-year winning record, which includes holding the title of All Southern California Coach of the Year for several years, back-to-back state championships, and back-to-back Western State Conference championships, well, this list, it just goes on and on. Nabil's coaching approach is committed to achieving excellence through implementing core values to his team members. So here today to talk all about how that works, will you please welcome one of California's most decorated coaches and my boss, Nabil Mardini, to the show. Hi, Nabil.
Thank you. Hi, Debbie. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm very good. Thank you for having me.
I'm glad you're here, and I'm happy to have you in the studio with me today. I've been in and out of the studio. This lockdown has affected us and your business, of course. So you and I see each other at least a couple of times a week, but yes, we are socially distanced right now, and I'm glad to be in the studio with all our high-tech equipment and stuff. It's good to be here.
Absolutely.
So, I alluded to it a little bit in the introduction, but you are my boss because you own a cycle studio, which we're going to talk more about in a little bit, called Dig Cycle.
Yep.
It is here in Calabasas, California, and I am one of your cyclists, your teachers.
Yes, you are.
And I basically knocked on your door when I moved to Calabasas about 8 months ago, and said, I'm a cycle instructor,
yes.
And you're doing it very eloquently outside, social distancing in these beautiful mountains of Calabasas and the hills.
Yes.
And I said, I'd love to be a part of it. And you said, sure, join us. You didn't even hesitate,
Yes,
actually. You didn't know me. I think you looked me up after you already hired me.
Yeah,
But
your introduction was basically the interview.
yeah, well, it was great, and I was very honored to be able to come part of the team. And I thank you kindly for putting me back in the saddle, literally back in the saddle.
Thank you.
So we're going to get into how that all came about, but and I know you're a career athlete, but I want to talk about, obviously there's an accent, so we want to talk about
Sure.
where you're from, what brought you here to this country, and what you're doing now. So tell us a little bit about your beginnings.
Well, I was born and raised in Lebanon.
Okay.
At the age of 18, I wanted to pursue a career in volleyball, actually, and at the same time get an education. So I asked around and I said, "Hey, I want to travel. I want to come to the United States, and what's the place where I can play volleyball?" And everybody said, California. So I decided to come to California, and obviously I ended up, make a long story short, I ended up going to college. I went to Santa Monica College at first, did the JC route, and then I went to UCLA, got a degree in electrical engineering.
Mm-hmm.
Although my heart and my passion was always into sports. Like I really wanted to do sport management.
Did you grow up playing volleyball in Lebanon?
Oh,
you did,
I
since you were a kid.
I started playing volleyball at the age of 6. That's really all I wanted to do when I was a kid. I just
Okay.
wanted to play volleyball and go to school. And that's all I did. And I made it to the junior national team in Lebanon.
Okay.
I competed at a very high level. Pretty much trained almost every day, 5-6 days. Like that's really all I wanted to do,
Yeah.
was just play
It's
volleyball.
your
Every
passion.
opportunity I wanted to is just play ball on the street, on the beach, anywhere, indoor, outdoor. It didn't matter. So I had that passion, and I really wanted to do something in sport management. However, I came to the United States, and I decided to do, kind of went the safe route.
Yeah, I
And,
was going to say.
I've always been good in science and math and physics, so I did the electrical engineering. And I worked in the industry for a little bit as an engineer, electrical engineer. But one day my boss came to me and said, "Hey, I'm going to send you to Atlanta for a workshop for about a week." And I didn't feel like going. And that day actually is when I resigned from my job. I told my boss, I'm like, "I don't think I'm the right guy for you. Like I like it, but I'm not in love with it."
How long ago was this?
That was back in 99, I would say, or maybe
Okay.
98.
So over 20 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I decided to quit my job, my engineering job, and pursued my passion. And I started coaching. I took a big pay cut. Money was not, I just didn't think about the money as much. I just wanted to do what I wanted to do. And ended up, coaching volleyball. And then I started I worked my way up all the way to college coaching. And then I started my own club, which I own today.
Yes.
We went from, a small club to one of the biggest clubs in the nation. It's okay. So yeah, that's pretty much how I got involved in coaching.
Yeah.
And in terms of playing volleyball, I played for Santa Monica College.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went to UCLA. I made the team at UCLA, but I decided not to play because of finances. At the time, I was an international student, so I couldn't really afford to play volleyball and not to work. So you can
Right.
either
So you
or.
had to make some choices.
So I had
Yeah.
yes, and worked very long hours just to be able to afford the living and pay my tuition and do all that. But like I said, I think maybe it helped me because I kind of stayed away from the game for a little bit, maybe 4 or 5 years, and then I missed it. So that's
Yeah.
when I decided I'm gonna pursue a career in coaching, and that's what I wanted to do. So
And you did.
and I did, and here I am today. Yeah.
It's funny how things can circle around again in your life I think you really have to, you dabble, you think you belong somewhere,
Yeah.
and then it doesn't feel right for some reason. It might be the timing, it might be the people you're interacting with at the moment, or where you're at from a sort of head standpoint, where your maturity level is, or what you're ready to accept or not accept. So you go try other things, and then it's so interesting how it can come back around and be very viable. All of a sudden, it just it's snowballs and takes off. Yeah. And I see that a lot in talking to guests and clients on how things They have to, you zigzag a little bit to find your way, and then you sometimes come back to where you started or where your intentions were. You just didn't know it yet. I
Very
love
true.
that. I love that.
Thank you.
So then you settled here.
Yes.
And are you a citizen? You're a citizen.
I'm a U.S. citizen.
Yeah.
I became a U.S. citizen a long time ago.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking 90 is when I came here.
Yeah.
The beginning of 90. So
Yeah.
I forgot to mention the year. So I was 18 at the time.
Right.
Came in 90 and decided that, after I got my degree that I, wanted to stay here and pursue my love and my passion.
And volleyball's here. And I know as part of your coaching, beach volleyball is part of, and that's such
Absolutely.
a big deal here, here in Southern California.
Well,
I
it
used
is.
to, I used to, one of the things I did, and I'm not very tall, I'm only 5'4", but I used to go to the beach when I was in high school because I grew up out here. And in Santa Monica, there, all the volleyball courts
Of
that are
course.
spread out there. Well, right up against the Santa Monica Pier, there used to be sort of pickup games, and celebrities would come.
Yes.
And one of them was Wilt Chamberlain.
Yeah.
And do you know these
I have
stories about
met-
Wilt?
Yeah, I've met Wilt. Yeah,
Okay.
yes,
So
yes.
he liked teenage girls. I mean, I'm not alluding to anything. I'm just saying he'd be there and he'd visit with us, and it was just, so we'd watch the surfers and the volleyball games. That's the kind of surfer girl I was, or beach girl.
Well, he
I
was best friends with Gene Selznick. The guy, Gene Selznick has a big name in the
the
game of
volleyball.
beach volleyball.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So they used
there
to
you
be
go.
they used to be buddy, and they used to play all
So
the
that's how,
time.
yeah. And it was all for fun and sport, but they
course.
did get an audience, a lot of young girls. I was one of them.
Yeah, beach volleyball has a story in LA. Obviously, it kind of went up and then down, and then now it's back up again.
Yeah.
And now what's helping is the game itself. Beach volleyball is a sanctioned sport in college. It wasn't as
It wasn't for a
it
long
wasn't as
time
of
then.
5 years ago. It was
No.
not. It was more recreational. It was more of a professional.
And that's true, like for the Olympics now, right?
Oh, it's always been an Olympic game.
It
yeah.
was always an Olympic game.
Always been an Olympic game.
okay.
Well, maybe not
I
always.
don't think so.
Not
When I
always.
was younger, I don't think.
Maybe early 90s, I would say.
Okay, all right.
I don't think it was in the '84 Olympics, which is in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
But in the '90s, it became an official sport. It draws a big audience in the Olympics, beach volleyball.
Yeah.
And it's even getting bigger and bigger. I mean, now it's just internationally.
Yeah. Well,
Everybody's playing
I mean,
beach.
it's one of those sports. It's so cool because you move fast. Volleyball in itself moves very fast. You're using every single muscle group in your body.
Absolutely.
And you're, you just. It's like it scores quickly. You're looking at these amazing athletes moving around, and it's just, and in beach volleyball, they're all in bathing suits, and it's a really highly visual, pleasing sport. I've got to say.
Yeah.
So I can see why, for a spectator, I
Yes.
can see, and it's easy to go along. Living out here, you just go along the beach and you can catch a tournament any weekend day.
Very true.
I mean, now's different. Now's a little
Yes,
different.
now it is. Yeah.
Yeah, but normally, under
Normal,
normal
yeah.
circumstances.
Oh, no question about it. I mean, beach volleyball. I don't know. A lot of people don't know, but the women's volleyball game is the #1 sport in college.
You told me that.
NCAA in
Yeah.
college. It actually beat soccer and beat basketball on the women's side. And I think the way they do it is by how many fans obviously show up to the games.
Yeah.
Obviously, we have the state of Hawaii, which sells out every single game, men and women.
So it's really
So
popular.
it helps the numbers and the statistics when it comes to this. But again, almost every college in the nation, whether it's Division I, Division II, or Division III, they have a women's volleyball program. So it's really big.
Yeah. I don't think it gets the notoriety internationally that it should, like women's basketball or soccer does.
No.
It really doesn't. But with all sports,
Yeah.
I think, and including the fact that, my kids, I was a dance mom for years. And
Okay.
my kids are classically trained dancers.
Sure.
From ballet as the foundation, working their way up. And, as you know, I have a daughter who runs a yoga studio. And, that career took her into that. But I noticed from a young age, getting kids involved in team sports or dance or anything that's related that is required discipline, practice, even getting involved with an instrument and music, and having a teacher or a coach creates really better human beings, provided that their teacher or their coach provide that foundation for them. And that's really, from a health standpoint, what I was saying at the top of the show.
Yeah.
I realize you have a whole syllabus of how you lay out your training. And I want to get into that, but I want to see where you're at now with your coaching, like where you're coaching.
Sure.
And because, I mean, those are quite impressive awards and numbers that I had mentioned in the beginning, all these championships that you have. So obviously you're doing something right, which is why we're doing this together today.
Thank you for that.
But before we get into that, let's talk about, how did you segue into opening a cycling studio? Where did cycling and fitness come into?
Yeah, that's good. That actually happened in 2014.
Okay.
I was playing volleyball
in
a pickup game with the coaches. It was actually at Harvard Westlake High School.
Oh, okay.
On Coldwater Canyon. And their small gym, they have a very small, kind of Hoosiers-like gym. And I tore my Achilles. I was taking a step back. Yeah, playing volleyball. I wasn't even jumping. I was just taking a step back and just tore my Achilles. And it's a wear and tear injury. It's not a sudden injury. So, but I remember the pain, and I've played a lot of sports, not just volleyball, and I've never had a major injury. And then I get what they call the mother of them all.
Right, the
big one. It's a big. So
there's a lot of healing and time that goes into that. I know.
Yeah. So after I got the surgery and I healed, I didn't want to. I was training, actually doing a lot of plyometrics, doing some heavyweight stuff, doing some sprints on the treadmills and stuff like that. I was actually afraid that I would tear the other one, not the surgery.
And by right, I mean, you already know who wants to go through that again.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, pain is one thing, but it's just. I mean, I was sitting in a couch for 6 months. I mean, just you can't drive, you can't walk, you can't do anything. So it was painful, and mentally, if you know what I mean, mentally and emotionally, it was not. So, fast forward, I started cycling because they told me it's low impact and.
It's always the rehab sport, right?
It's always the rehab sport.
That's how I started, too. It's
True.
such a rehab sport.
Rehab and warm up. A lot of professional athletes, that's what they do before the big game. So I started taking some classes and kind of fell in love with it. And I kind of liked the idea of the business. And I knew one of my former volleyball players. She teaches at SoulCycle. So I called her one day. I'm like, tell me more about this business. Because she teaches at Beverly Hills. I think she still teaches there anyway. So she told me all about it. I'm like, wow. I said, they pay that much money to do this? Because I can go to 24-hour fitness. I pay only $20 a month. But then I learned that it's kind of like going to 7-Eleven and buying coffee for 50 cents or
going to some coffee house. Yeah. And
so it's not about it's about the quality of the product. It's about the experience.
Yes.
So I started attending more studios and more talking to more instructors and kind of fell in love with it, but I didn't want to do just cycling only. I believe in obviously doing other stuff as well. So when I opened the studio, I decided to do cycling and a TRX kettlebell studio as well.
Yeah, it's a strength
so
studio.
People have more of an option, and this way, from a business standpoint, we're not limiting ourselves to one source of revenue. So it worked. I mean, like I said, if you believe in an idea, I think you should go with it.
Yeah.
I believe that you should never do anything unless you truly believe in it.
So when you we're putting pictures up, and so when you first opened the studio, how long did it take for people to find you and for it to take off? And a little history of the studio. I'm just curious.
We opened the studio, so we ended up opening in August of 2017. I think it took about a year for us to kind of be in the positive and have enough of a client base.
That's pretty good.
That's not bad at all.
No.
From what they told me.
So there must have been a need in that area.
Yes. I mean, obviously, yeah. We picked Calabasas because you're right. We did a business analysis and we thought it was a good location to do it. Plus, I always wanted to take the business online. So take it beyond the walls of just
even
the
before
business.
the pandemic.
Even before the pandemic, because I knew it was
smart.
Yeah, so the location was important, but it wasn't the most important thing. we like the area, we like the shopping center and the clientele, and knock on wood, we're still there. We're surviving the pandemic, and I know a lot of fitness places did not, and are not. So we're happy.
Yeah, you're doing well. And I
you.
have to say, I mean, if you're in the LA, and especially if you're in Calabasas or even the San Fernando Valley area, you're going to want to check this out. So if you're a cyclist or you were doing cycling and your gym is closed and you were doing a spin type class, come check out Dig Cycle, because you're really doing it right, and you're doing
Thank
it, they're doing it with all protocols in place, and it's fun, and you can just tell by the writers that they're having such a good time, so you're giving value during this time, and movement's so important why we're kind of sedentary these days. So
Absolutely.
This is a great way to do it. Check it out if you're in the LA area.
Yeah,
so I didn't know.
you.
So that's a good story. I didn't know about that.
Yeah.
So applying, as a person who works for you and has worked for you for several months now,
Yeah.
now I know your philosophy and your principles that you use behind coaching. I
Sure.
think you're using those same philosophies and principles with your business, with owning a business,
Absolutely.
and with your employees and with your customers, because I see you with the writers, and they are very loyal, and the reason is because of you.
Well,
And
thank you.
how you run this studio. And so I'm pretty sure that's working for you in the volleyball world.
Thank you.
So where are you at now? Where with volleyball? Where is your coaching practice now, especially within the pandemic? And
So on the volleyball side, I coach at Pierce College for 17 years. Mm-hmm. And then I left in 2017. I took a couple years off. I got my master's.
And this is women's volleyball.
This is women's volleyball, yeah.
Okay.
It's mainly women's volleyball is what I coach.
Yeah.
I did coach the men's volleyball back in 2006.
You have some statistics
I do.
that you got. You won some
Exactly.
championships. Yeah.
Exactly. But it's mainly women's volleyball. And then I left in 2017, got my master's, and then I applied for Mission College at the beginning of 2020. And I got hired in February. And then I still today, I have not even met my team yet.
Oh, my gosh.
The team that I recruited.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a brand new team. LA Mission College in Sylmar.
Yes.
Kind of visited the campus. I liked the campus a lot. So I decided to take the job. It's actually in the same district as Pierce College.
Okay.
It's run by the
Interesting.
the Los Angeles Community College District, LACCD.
Okay.
It's a 9-campus district. Pierce is one of them. LA Mission, Harbor, So anyway, so now I'm coaching at Mission, but like I said, the season has been canceled.
So the whole season's been canceled.
It's been canceled, postponed, and then now canceled again. They're saying maybe in April, but I'm not holding my breath. I don't think it's going to happen.
You must miss the whole
Absolutely.
feeling of
Absolutely.
And there, I think, aside from what I talked about earlier
Sure.
with sports, I also think, the socialization, the camaraderie, the victories, the defeats, all those things that you do together as a group, cry on each other's shoulders, clap with each other, celebrate, all the little small
Absolutely.
Things, and all the wins and losses, I think is a real loss for our young people right
Absolutely.
now, for our youth. And I'm hoping we get to a point pretty soon where we can bring that back, because we're bringing so much more to them.
Absolutely.
Which brings me to your philosophy, your coaching philosophy, and how it works, and what you're imparting to our youth today, to bring them into become better adults.
Yeah.
And have
of course.
values and these core values that stick with them for life.
Yes.
I think is so important. And I know a lot of it comes from the discipline that team sports gives us.
Absolutely.
So your coaching philosophy, you talk about team culture, you talk about your core values. Let's talk a little bit about that. What what is your coaching philosophy? How would you describe your coaching philosophy?
Well, I mean, that's to me, it's a...
Wait, you know what?
Yeah.
It's commercial time.
Is it?
I have a sponsor.
I like
so
it.
we're
Oh, I
going to
like
take
it.
a really quick commercial break right
turn
here.
this off.
And then we're going to do the whole second half
Yeah, yeah.
on
I
your
turned it off.
coaching philosophy, your values, and all of that.
Okay.
So here we go. We'll be right back. I want to share with you a product I've been using for the last month, known as the most powerful antioxidant on earth. It's called My Vital C. My Vital C will not only help you feel healthier, but research shows it will aid in a longer life. And since using My Vital C, here are the things that I noticed: that I have no more restless sleep. It's so much easier now for me to fall asleep. And as you know, sleep is a great immune system booster. I'm also supporting my immune system with antiviral and antibacterial properties, and not to mention the high levels of antioxidants I'm receiving. So the bottom line here is I simply feel better. And now I'm recommending My Vital C to all my clients, my friends, and my family. To order this life-changing product, go to the link myvitalc.com/balanced life. Make sure you take advantage of the 25% discount on subscription. You can cancel at any time. Use the coupon Balanced Life for an additional $15 off your first order. Go to myvitalc.com/balanced life and check out this life-changing product right now. All right, welcome back. Welcome back. My guest today is Coach Nabil Mardini, and he's here. We're going to talk. We just came back from our break, and we're ready to talk about your coaching philosophy. Let's hear about that.
You know, it's obviously a broad subject. We can talk for hours about
Right.
the philosophy. And people, but they ask me all the time. I do a lot of coaching clinics. What I help coaches become better coaches and teachers. And the philosophy is always, one of the big topic. So to me, it took me a lot on. I mean, obviously, you start coaching and then you kind of develop. You just like a
Figure it out,
player.
yeah.
Just like a player, you learn how to become better at doing things, not just coaching the X's and O's, because that's the easy part.
Right.
But if somebody asked me how would you define it in one sentence, I would say, winning is not everything. Winning is the only thing. This is obviously not mine. It's actually owned by, or it was said by Coach Lombardi, which is the coach of the Green Bay Packers for the longest time.
Right.
He's won many Super Bowls, and his name is on the trophy, the Super Bowl trophy. It's called the Lombardi Trophy.
The Lombardi Trophy, yep.
So he's the guy who said it. But I think for a long time, people kind of misunderstood what he meant by this. So they thought he was talking about the wins and losses on the winning,
Right.
the
And
WL column.
If you don't win, you're a loser,
Basically.
basically. Right.
But I think what he meant by this is that the preparation to win is what counts. And that's what he meant by winning is the only thing. So that to me is what's important.
So that's a mindset. The
Yes.
mindset is
Yeah.
you're going to train to win.
Yes.
But it doesn't mean you have to, if you still can lose a tournament,
Absolutely.
lose a game, but as long as your mindset and your commitment is there,
Yes.
that's the way you approach.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the history of all the championships across all levels, high school, middle school, college, professional. Not many teams won the whole thing, by going undefeated
Yeah.
or not having losses.
No.
They say,
It doesn't seem, I mean, yes, there are teams that have done that, but I would say they're missing out on something. You know?
Absolutely. A famous coach said, you learn a chapter from winning, but you learn a book from losing.
Oh, I love that saying.
Yeah.
I hadn't heard
So-
that one.
Yeah.
That's a good
So
one.
I believe in that. I mean, I think a lot of times, and I've coached many teams along the way, many championship teams where I feel like we lose, and then I'm you're obviously sitting, you're talking to the team. I'm like, you know what? I'm kind of glad we did because sometimes it's very natural for us human beings to kind of get complacent,
Yes.
do what's comfortable.
Yes.
We always want to do what's minimum, so that's what discipline comes in.
Yes.
But discipline, even the most disciplined people are not as disciplined sometimes.
Because they're doing the same thing every day. And
Yeah.
do you know, complacency actually takes years off your life.
Absolutely.
And doing something that you fear changing something.
Yes.
Even within your practice of doing the same thing, just changing it up a little bit creates longevity.
Absolutely.
So,
I mean, the example that I like to use is it's kind of like you're taking this water bottle, and let's say you have a funnel that has two tubes. So it's a Y-shaped funnel. One has a bigger tube than the other one. And if you put water down, the funnel, which way is the water going to go? So you got a big tube, and then you have a smaller one.
it's going to go faster in the big one.
In the big one. And the reason why is because it's the path of least resistance.
Right.
And I mean, nature does this. And we do the same thing. If it's hot in here, we turn on the AC. If if the TV is on, we prefer that we use the remote control.
Our conveniences.
Absolutely.
I call them and I call like fast food things like that fatal conveniences.
Exactly.
They're not always the best for us.
Exactly. So instilling a work ethic in somebody, it's a learning process. I mean, it's not nobody's born with it. Mindset sometimes can be attributed to nature and some of it obviously is nurture. But we human beings, we just like to be comfortable. So to instill a work ethic in somebody is definitely a process. But to me, it's not only about work ethic. I talk about the moral ethics.
Yes.
So they go together because especially the moral ethics. Like I tell somebody, like, look, if you're working for a company, and let's say your job is to make, bottles. Your job is to make 10 bottles a day. That's your capacity. Well, if you steal from your boss, you're gonna come, and your performance is not going to be 10 bottles anymore. It's going to be 8, 7. So it's going to be impacted in a negative way, because your moral ethics, I call it, you are out of ethics toward your boss, toward the team, the company, whatever you want to call it. So when I'm coaching,
the ethics are lacking.
Absolutely. So when I'm coaching my team, I'm really big on this. And I tell my players, I'm like, look, it's not a character flaw, especially with the women's athletes. A lot of times they don't like to confront. So what they end up doing is they talk about each other. And they don't
you
talk.
don't tolerate gossip.
No.
Yeah.
Yes. But
That's
they don't
one of
mean
your
it.
golden rules.
Yes,
right?
but it's not a character flaw. They do it because they don't want to confront somebody. Like, for example, Kelly coming to me and saying, Nabil, Lisa is late to practice every day, and it's bothering me. So 20 years ago, I would have handled it. But over the years, I learned, I'm like, no, I'm not going to handle it. I'm going to tell Kelly, I'm like, look, you're talking about Lisa. Why don't you go and talk to Lisa? Because you know what? This is not my team only. This is your team. So ownership to me is big.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that, taking some responsibility and accountability
Absolutely.
to not having somebody else do the job for you.
Exactly.
I love that.
Yeah. So
It's a lifetime gift.
Absolutely. And I tell my team all the time, I'm like, look, if I see my job, and again, going back to the philosophy, I'm very big on the family. Like I tell my teams, I'm like, look, we can win a lot of games because we have talent. But you're never going to win the big one. You're never going to accomplish, something big unless you become a family in the true meaning of the word. So I spend a lot of time, trying to become as close to a family as we can. And the example that I use regarding how you talk about somebody or to somebody, I said, why do siblings fight all the time? Why do brothers and sisters or sisters and sisters, why do they fight? And a lot of times, can I give you the wrong answer? They fight because they are honest with each other. Because they talk to each other. And the reason why they talk to each other and they're honest is because they trust each other. See, there is the trust factor that when I recruit, Lisa from one background and Kelly is coming from another place, it takes time to build trust. So if trust is not there, talking to each other is not going to be as easy.
And playing together isn't going to be as easy.
Absolutely.
Because how can you be a team when you're working against each other mentally? How do you work that out physically?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So smart. So how does it break down? Like when for instance, when you go back into play and you're able to meet your team and you want to impart all of this, how will it break down? What process do you go through to let them understand and know your values have to be instilled, in this way?
So when I first started coaching, obviously I had to build the program. And when we started winning championships, I would bring the recruits to my office and we do the tour, the campus tour, and do all that. And I always wanted the parents to be present as well because I want them to hear. I used to talk about what we have accomplished, how many championships we won, and the trophies and all that. And it changed over the years.
I bet.
Like I didn't do it as much anymore because I didn't feel like this was as effective. So I stopped talking about the how and the what, and I started talking more about the why. Mm-hmm. And because to me, a good salesperson, in the end, as a coach, and I mean it not in a negative connotation, but as a coach, you're a salesperson. You're trying to sell your philosophies and your core values and your principles to your family. And to be able to do that, you have to sell them on the why. Mm-hmm. And the example that I like to use is like Apple, the company Apple. Mm. And I like to use a lot of real life examples because in the end, that's what it is. I tell the players, look, you're going to play on this team 4, 5, 6 years. And then after that, it's really the lessons that you take from being on a team that you're going to take with you to the bigger game, which is the game of life.
Right.
I mean, that's really in the end why
Love
you play
it.
team sports.
Yeah.
But Apple is a company considered to be probably top 3, I would say, in the world. But if you actually listen to their ads, they don't talk about the what and the how a lot. They don't tell you their product is this and I got the big screen. If you actually listen to the subliminal messages, it's a lot about the why. Like it's almost getting people to believe that you cannot live without my product.
Well, and that's kind of true.
Yes. So
it is.
Yes.
It worked.
Yeah. And the other company that I like to use as another, which is a company that doesn't exist anymore, because they actually focus on the how and the what, is what is it? The one that invented the how you record. You can go to work and record. What is it called? The first one. I forgot the name of the company, but anyway.
Do you know what he's talking about, Kurt?
Was it basically they doing the whole DVR thing?
Yeah.
It was their idea.
Okay.
So you can actually go to work and then you can come back home and you can watch a show that was playing, but it was recorded.
Oh, right. So DVR or...
but it was before the DVR. It kind of slipped my mind. But
like TiVo.
TiVo.
Yeah.
TiVo.
Okay.
TiVo is the company I'm talking about. They focus a lot on the how and the what.
Okay.
And not so much the why. And I think if they focus on the why, they probably would have been one of the biggest companies
more successful.
in the world. So yeah. So it's the same idea when it comes to coaching.
So what I love is what I'm hearing you say is things evolved for you as a coach over the years. So what have you gotten out of it? What is you as a as a coach or in your life in moving forward with your life and your ideals and the way you treat other people and the way you now treat your business that you own, what have you learned from being a coach as this stuff evolved?
Well, what I learned is that, excuse me.
Do you feel like you've become a more honest and authentic human being?
Oh, absolutely.
You okay? Take some water. You swallowed the wrong way. Go ahead. Go ahead. Because what? Take a second.
Went down the wrong tube. It's okay.
Yeah, I know that happens.
Oh, good. So what I learned is that, I mean, obviously, to me, the learning never stops, and that's really the key. In my opinion, when the learning stops is the day I need to stop coaching or stop doing what I enjoy doing.
Yeah.
So a lot of coaches sometimes tell me I don't like to attend coaching clinics because, I've been doing this for 20 years. What is it that I'm going to learn?
They're the ones that aren't evolving. They're the ones that are doing the day in, day out stuff the same every single time.
Yeah, and then what I tell these coaches, I'm like, well, you're kind of being a hypocrite a little bit because you tell your teams every single day, we need to come to practice and be 1% better. We want to improve. We want to get better. But you're not doing the same thing as a coach, as an individual. Mm-hmm. Well, that to me is being a hypocrite. And I typically call coaches out. I mean, I do a lot of coaching clinics, and my philosophy with my team is, between the eyes, bluntness. Let's put it this way. And that's the way I want it. Like I always want my kids to be blunt with each other, and I'm going to be blunt with them. And sometimes it's not what they want to hear. There's no fluff around it.
No.
Because I believe in as long as they know that I care about them, as long as they know that it's kind of like parenting. You know, you can be hard on your kids, but in the end, they know that you love them.
Tough love kind of thing.
It's tough love. But again, to get to that point, they have to trust you. You know, they have to know.
So trust is a really strong value, and trust is one of the first and foremost things you have to create with your team before the other values can sort of fall into place.
Yeah. So with the 3 questions that I typically tell my players, I'm like, look, when you guys get together at first, there are 3 questions that you have to ask and answer. One of them is, and again, they're asking each other, and then they're asking me as well. First is, can I trust you? Second is, do you care? And thirdly is, are you committed to excellence?
Right.
So these are the 3 questions.
So they ask each other and they actually get answers from each other? Or are they asking it of themselves?
Themselves and their teammates. At first. And then we obviously do like an evaluation 2 weeks from there. And then because it takes time. Because I tell them, look, if I tell you, hey, make sure you get a good night's sleep. If your teammate is in bed by 10 and you are in bed by 2 a.m., guess what? Trust is now kind of broken. Now we have to mend it. And it takes time. And every time you do something like this, it takes energy and it takes more time. And it kind of takes a step back from us getting to our ultimate goal, which is the big prize. Yeah. So again, becoming a family is really, really important. So we sit down, we do what we call fireside chats, which is a term that I stole from FDR. Back in the 60s, they used to have a radio show when they talk about politics.
Okay.
And all they do in the radio show is they hash it out, and it was called the fireside chat.
It
was his show.
To me.
Yeah, back in the 60s, I think maybe. So I stole that term. So basically what we do is we sit down and we do fireside chats all the time, where we basically kind of hash it out.
Just spill it out. Everybody, whatever's on their mind that has to do with the team.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And a lot of times I ask the players, like, do you know, like Kelly and Lisa, you guys went to the same high school. Do you know Kelly? Oh, yeah, Kelly is my best friend. And then I start asking questions like, well, what does Kelly's dad do for a living? Oh, I don't know. How many brothers? So the lesson that I'm teaching him is like, look, what you know of her is very superficial. If you want to become a family, you have to go deeper than this. And so we spend a lot of time getting to know each other at a deeper level. Because in the end...
Smart.
Yes. Because in the end, it's all about relationships. Putting a team together with a bunch of talent and people coming from different backgrounds is one thing. But if you don't build relationships, forget it. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
And they're not going to take much out of it after they're done playing for you. So I'm all about relationships. And I got better at it over the years. Like,
I'm sure.
Like at first, I would say 25 years ago, you would ask Coach Nabil, Coach, why do you want me to set up the net? Because I said so. That would be my answer. Now, why do coaches say that? Coaches say that because it's an easy answer, number one. Number two, they don't know any better.
Yeah.
They don't know why.
have another answer. Yeah.
Today, if they ask me, like, why do you want me to set up the net? Because you're really good at it. You're really the best. As a matter of fact, I want you to teach her how to do it. So communication becomes an art. As long as you're honest, you're not lying to somebody.
Yeah.
It becomes an art. And I know the why. 25 years ago, I didn't know why I needed to set up the net. Now I know the why. So, and kids, especially girls, they want to know why, you do things, and
they want answers.
And they want, and I want them to ask why. Like I want them to, like, so I have a 65, now it's more like 71 page book. It's more like a booklet. It's not a book yet, but I'm gonna turn it into a book one day. But I want them. I don't do anything in the book. Like there's nothing in the book where if you ask me why is it 22 minutes before practice? Why do you want me to show up 22 minutes before practice? I'm going to tell you why. Because again, it's the bigger
picture.
Or the selling point. Like I cannot sell you on something unless I can tell you why I'm doing it.
Of course.
So it kind of became a big part of what I do.
It's so remarkable how you are giving them these life lessons and skills that they can take with them beyond, because they're young adults now, but, in some cases you may even have teens, but when, which are young adults.
Yeah.
But when they leave, those things, whether they realize it or not, are instilled.
Well,
And they'll be a better parent. They'll be a better partner. They'll be a better friend, a better son, daughter, or brother, or sister, or daughter. And they don't even know why. But you gave them. My kids today tell me, both my kids have really good jobs, right? And it doesn't necessarily mean that they went to the top colleges and they were recruited.
Yeah.
It's the discipline that they got from a very young age. From the time they were 2.5 years old, they were dancing. By the time they were 11, 12, they were hitting their young adolescence. They were in dance companies. So at one time, I was a dance mom for 4 different dance companies, 2 for one daughter and 2 for the other. And the discipline that they received and the camaraderie among each other, and it wasn't just girls, there were guys involved too. Because if one person is amiss, it is going to affect the entire production, the entire dance, and they knew their responsibility from a very, very, very early age. And they're both in their 30s now. As you know, I'm a new grandmother, and one I'm seeing taking responsibility and seeing what she's like as a mother. But the values, those core values that were instilled in her from the time she was 2.5, when she was dancing with all those other little cute toddlers, are still with her.
Absolutely.
Are still with her, and they thank me to this day.
Yeah.
And I wasn't their teacher then. I think our children grow into and prosper to be good, valuable, not only to themselves, but to others, giving, loving, kind, trusting human beings based on the other people that surround them and teach them and nurture them.
Absolutely.
Along with, what we do as parents. I know you have a 4-year-old son.
Yes.
Or did he just turn 5?
No,
right?
4.
No, 4.
He turned
he
4,
just turned 4.
in November,
okay.
yeah.
So that's a different kind of skill.
Sure.
But, our kids, and you'll do this with your son, I'm sure, create their character based on those things that surround them and the people that give them the values that they need to take into life.
Absolutely.
And I am so impressed that you do this and that you are giving that to our kids, because my kids, we do reunions. We've done reunions in their 30s now with their dance teams and their dance companies, and those are lifetime friends. Those bonds that they created because of they all know what they had to do for themselves to do for each other.
Absolutely.
And that's life.
Absolutely.
That's life. You start here and you bring it out.
I mean, one of the most rewarding thing for me is getting a letter or an email from kids who played for me 5, 10 years down the line, saying, you know what, Nabil, I get it. Now I get why you were hard on me. Now I get why you did the things that you did. Sometimes it takes time for them to learn it. But I actually created a private Facebook alumni. I called the Brahma alumni for my peers players.
Oh, nice.
I did it recently, during the COVID. The last couple
Well,
months.
it's a good way for them to reconnect.
Yeah, and a lot of them, like I got a message from Carmen who said, the first thing she said to me, like, Nabil, I miss you. And she goes, there's some work ethic you instilled in me. So whatever it is that...
There you go.
So obviously, that's really what...
She'll take it beyond these years, too.
Yes.
And so important. And I wish that, because we're getting ready to wrap up here, but I really wish that parents, I think it really starts in the home. And one of the ways that it starts, I had a kind of a tumultuous, I had some strange beginnings. My mom was an alcoholic and my father was ill, and there was a lot of fighting. And by the time I was 12, and there were 4 of us, which isn't a lot of kids, but it was too much for parents that weren't getting along. Absolutely. So there was a lot of discord in my childhood. But I wanted to dance, but my mom wouldn't drive me to my dance lessons, so I couldn't dance. So because it was too far for me to ride my bike at 12 years old by myself. So, or even younger when I wanted to start. So, but I got involved in Girl Scouts at a very early age, Brownies, Girl Scouts, cadets, and seniors. And my leaders were a husband and wife team. So they were parents to 4 kids, but they were also had this Girl Scout troop that they grew with rather than stay here. They grew with their kids in this Girl Scout troop. And that's where I got my core values from. And that's where I understood camaraderie and working together, how to build a campfire, how to put up a tent, how to, like you were talking about with the net. And I could have gone a different path because I was in a very dysfunctional family from an early age. And yet I didn't, because I wanted to shift my thinking that this isn't what I want for my life. And I found something on the outside to help me. And I think even if parents are they are giving great value to their kids and instilling all the things we've been talking about, I really also think that they need to think to get them involved in something that gives them discipline. Whether it's music or dance or a sport, they really need to have that outside influence. And whether they have a good coach or a good teacher or not, that's also a teaching moment. Those are also things that are going to be instilled on how they handle that.
Of course.
And to this day, I still have the most fond memories of my troop leaders.
Absolutely.
Because they loved me. They gave me what I wasn't finding in my home. And it wasn't that my parents didn't love me, they just didn't know how to deal with it, So
of course.
I think it's so important. I want to get some parting words from you and anything that you want the audience to know, that they can look you up if they want anything, and we'll give out also up on the screen and also verbally the way they can get in touch with Dig Cycle as well.
Absolutely. I mean, I would say to me, speaking of parenting, it's been proven that the second most influential person in somebody's life after the parents is actually a coach.
I believe it.
I tell coaches all the time, like, look, once you say something, you're gonna make an impact. You're gonna make an impact one way or the other. You're gonna make an impact. It could be positive, or it could be negative. And I tell coaches all the time, like, look, kids, athletes forget their teachers all the time, but they will never forget ever their coach.
No.
Good or bad, you're not gonna be forgotten. So it's a big job. Being a coach is a big job.
It's a big responsibility.
Absolutely.
And that's, you evolved to understand why you're doing it and then imparting all this great stuff to
Absolutely.
them. Have you seen, just on a last note, you seen, we have a phone call. Even though the show's almost over, we can take the call. Hi, caller, are you there? Hi, caller.
Hi, yes, I'm here.
Hi, what's your name?
Veronica.
Hi, Veronica. How are you? Where are you calling from?
Good. Currently in Malibu.
I love Malibu. I grew up there. So do you have a comment or a question for Nabil today?
I do, and I have been listening along the whole time, and it's been awesome, and I love your studio. It looks epic.
Oh, thanks.
And I actually took your spin class once. I don't know if you remember me.
I do remember you,
Veronica.
Back, yes, I do.
You are awesome.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for that shout out. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. And you played for Nabil, right? So can you attest to everything he's been saying? Can you?
All lies. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Yes. Everything he's saying was bringing back a lot of memories of playing for him, and I coached with him, and I was a instructor at his studio, so I know Nabil very well, and there's a lot of questions that I could ask, but for time's sake, I know that you said the show is almost over, so the one question I want to ask you, Nabil, is you do so much, and what drives you? Like, what drives you to keep doing many things versus being like, you know what, I'm going to relax and, I've done a lot in my life. Let me just sit back on the couch and chill. Like, what keeps you going?
That's a very good question. To me, what drives me personally, and I think what drives a lot of people is not just passion. It's an obsessed passion with teaching and coaching and learning how to build a winning culture in a gym environment, obviously. But to me, the most important thing is what we have right now. It's basically you and I, this relationship, long lasting, is really what I cherish the most, to be honest with you. I really coach because I enjoy these relationships, and and in the end, I think that's what's important. I mean, whether you're running a team or you're running a company, that to me is the most important thing, is building relationships. So that's really what drives me is
Yeah.
I'm very passionate. I think I learned to have a good work ethic, but along the way I even got better at learning that my work ethic is affected by my moral ethics, and they go hand in hand. So
Yeah, and then you impart them to your players, which
Yes.
is so wonderful. So, Veronica, stay
Yeah.
on the line because you're going to take it. We're going to wrap it all
Yeah.
up with final words. What are some final thoughts or things that you want the audience to know? Like, just leave us with words of wisdom, that kind of thing. Just, in one sentence. Your
in one
elevator
sentence,
your
I
elevator
would say
pitch.
the person, Veronica, she knows this one. The person who knows how will always have a job. The person who knows why will always be his boss.
Good one. I love that. I love it.
Yeah.
Nabil, so, Veronica, thank you for calling. And I want to tell my audience that digcycle.com, just go there and look at the studio and see what we're all doing. Even if you're not in the LA or the San Fernando Valley area, just see what it's all about, because Nabil is a really special human being.
Thank you very
and
much.
what you're doing for others. I thank you for your time today.
Thank you for having me.
Veronica, thank you for calling in and that endorsement for the two of us.
Absolutely.
And,
Thank you, V.
we will
Of
see
course,
you.
it was awesome.
Thank you so much. And thank you. And we'll see you, my audience, in 2 weeks. So keep going and having those conversations that connect to a healthier you. Bye, everybody. See you in 2 weeks.